when I think about what makes me nostalgic, I guess if you want to use that word regarding theater, since we haven't had a chance to really get into the theaters again, is that many years ago I loved going to see shows at Summerworks. And I had a pass, and one of the shows that I was really looking forward to seeing was called Terminus. And I had my ticket. I didn't have anyone that I was going with, but it didn't matter. The show was completely sold out. Now, prior to me getting to the theater, I wasn't feeling great. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew that something wasn't right. I just didn't feel great. And I had been to the doctor and said, I feel weird. And of course, that's not something you can tell a doctor and expect them to diagnose you. And he looked at me and he was like, well, looks like you might have a viral infection. Just take some Benadryl and you should be fine. And I was like, but I mean, I don't feel well, but I do feel fine. And I'm going to a play right now. And he's like, well, have fun. And I was like, okay. And I, went to the theater. It was playing at, let me think, Factory Theater. So it was at Factory Theater, and I was in the courtyard, saw a lot of my friends. I was really excited about seeing the show. And I don't know how much everybody knows about how that staging was. It was outside the March, I believe. And it was on the stage. So by that, I mean, they only accepted 30 people to sit on the stage and also watch the performance, the 3 people performing this show. And I remember just really loving it. Everyone was really strong. The story was really compelling. But at some point during the show, it was probably right around the moment that Mev talks about, I think it's squeezing someone's eyeballs until they exploded. I believe that was what happened. And I started to feel weird, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. I was by myself. I didn't have any friends with me. I was in the front row. And suddenly I just felt something happen to me where the world went black. But I didn't realize that the world had gone black. All I know is at one point, suddenly it felt like an aperture opening on a camera. Suddenly everything just became light again. And suddenly I was watching the show and it was like I could hear it zoom back into live theater. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And I noticed my shoe, I was wearing the most adorable Kate Spade sandals. One was way over there. And I thought, how did that happen? Oh, well. Anyway, I also noticed that the man sitting beside me, who I didn't know, was holding my hand and looking at me with concern. And I was like, hello. Anyway, I was like, okay. And I remember pulling my hand away, but smiling and continuing to watch the show. But then I started to feel overwhelmed with nausea. And I tried to fight it. And eventually I was like, I know. When you're not feeling well, you're supposed to put your head between your knees. So I did. And I kept my head there while listening to Mev be amazing. And then all of a sudden, someone crawled across the floor. It was an usher and whispered in my ear, would you like me to walk you out? And I said, I think so. So I got up and the world went black. And the next thing I remember is I'm lying on the ground, the lights are all on, the theater has been emptied, Mev is rubbing my back, and I look around and I go, oh no, I'm not that person, am I? Because the show was completely sold out. You could not get a ticket to the show. It was a hit. And so I'm like, oh no. And she was like, do you want me to tell you how it ends? And I was like, no, don't tell me how it ends. And Mitchell is there and he's got my phone in his hand. He's like, does anyone here know how to use a BlackBerry? I don't know how to, and I was like, the password is, and I can't remember what the password was. And he was like, who can we call? And I was like, the only person I can think of that you can call is Philip Aiken, because none of my family lives in Toronto. And so Philip Aiken rode his bike over. He was like doing a seminar somewhere and came over and sat with me. And then the paramedics showed up and they asked me a lot of questions. And I just remember I was really sweaty and I wasn't feeling well. And they were like, okay, we have to take you to the hospital. And because at that time, Factory didn't have an elevator, they had to carry me bodily, like 2 people at my feet and 2 people on the shoulders and put me on a gurney. And when they put me on a gurney to roll me into the ambulance, I saw basically a who's who of Canadian theater. John Kaplan was there. Daniel Karasik was there. Somebody, I think Julie Tepperman might have been there as well. And one of the owners of Theater Books, RIP, was there as well. And David Mirvish. So I remember thinking, well, he's not going to get to see the end of the show either. And then guess what? They remounted it. So you're welcome. Anyway, long story short, they took me to Toronto General Hospital where I lay on a gurney for, I think, 7 hours. I wasn't able to get home until 4 in the morning. They weren't able to figure out what was wrong with me. I woke up bleary-eyed and went to see Cymbeline in Stratford with Philip Aiken. And I always look at it as, hey, I could have died. Like, I could have, like, keeled over and died. I might not have gotten up. And the fact that I did actually wake up and could write again, I decided, you know what, Andrea Scott, you need to take writing seriously. This was like a stopwatch that says, take yourself seriously. Take this thing that you were dabbling in seriously. And so I really focused hard on rewriting and editing my play, which at the time it was Eating Pomegranates Naked. And the following year it got into Summer Works and did quite well. And that was the beginning of me being a playwright, which is kind of remarkable. And it was because I thought I was going to die. Yeah. And at a play called Terminus. I mean, you can't write that.